So, how to use packaging to get more views. So, when I mention packaging, packaging basically is a way that the information is organized. So, what a lot of people do is they don't properly organize the information, and sometimes it can be too much or it can be too little, but typically it's just way too much. And people will say, oh, a bigger creator can just spew off a bunch of information and get views. The problem with that is that they typically have an audience, so their audience knows that. But when you're trying to grow, it's better to do stuff in bullets. So even now, like when I do my own videos, I make sure that I write off bullets and I speak on them. Or even if I write a caption, I'm writing off bullets, because typically people need time to digest information, and it's a lot better to do things in chunks because people are scrolling fast, they don't have a lot of time, and you want your information to be something where somebody can go back and look at it pretty much and use it as a point of reference. So that's why it's better to kind of make sure you're focusing on the proper way to package your stuff. So some tips that you guys can start using to get better at this is what I do. So basically, whenever I have an idea or I think of something that might be useful, I will write it down and then I'll break down the different aspects of it into bullets. So if I was doing a video on how to use YouTube Shorts, I would have the overall theme of the video is YouTube Shorts, of course, and I would write down different bullets and aspects of it that I want to touch on, whatever is useful. So typically what I do is I make sure to just write down what I do for myself and just notes, even my own personal notes, and I make bullets out of them, and then I'll write that as the caption or just speak on them. But I think what happens is sometimes we go too far into storytelling. We don't actually get to the point of what's useful and what's helpful. So, for example, you know, if you're making a video about fishing, have fishing as the overall theme, but for what you want to teach, think of tips and then expand on them, but don't expand on them too long, because the goal is you want people to use the tips and plug them all together, and that's what makes up your video, especially now where people focus more on short form content. But if you're trying to grow a base, grow an audience, it's better to give tips because that's what's working, that's what's been helping people. And like I said, it depends on what you're doing. If you are doing stuff that's more intimate, you're doing one-on-ones or you're giving stories, then of course you can go in depth. But the method of the goal that people want is more views, and to do that you have to do it a different way. You can't do it as the way if you were telling stories. You have to actually do it in a more informative way. So that's why a lot of people, I think, struggle, because they're using the wrong method to get to the goal. You don't use a long form storytelling method if you want more views, especially now. You use shorter form stuff because that's what's been working. That's what the platforms are wanting. If you want to foster more of your engagement in your community, of course you can use longer form stuff, but those are specifically for, like I said, more personal stuff that should be on your stories. But for the outside reach and for teaching, you want your stuff to be quick and effective.